What's going on, everybody? Faith in Motion. If it's your first time, welcome. Today we're going to be going through some topics that have been, you could say, hot in the community, talking about the roles of a man, the roles of a woman, the roles of a husband, the roles of our wives. Have they been reversed today? All these type of topics. Give our opinion on it, but also, if I can, I will provide some Bible scriptures, because we also always have to bring it back to the Most High. All right? Boom. Let's go.
Have you ever dated outside your race?
Yes, that's all I would like to do.
Now?
Yes.
Okay.
I've always told my sisters to go where they are loved. And I've always told black women to be open to dating, even outside of their race. I love black love, and I would like that. But to see my African-American women sitting around waiting on a black man as he chooses whoever he wants to choose, I want black men to do, if they were a black woman, to build a black family. I'm not the girl that sits up there and looks at the black man when he date a white woman or date someone and say, "Ooh, you can't do that." White men love me.
It's funny because I've had this conversation with my wife as well. And to see many black women in the community not in relationships or not married, I've been saying, why don't they just start dating white men and other men? And when I do talk with a lot of black women, especially within my family, obviously it's about the vibe and having the same cultural background, and you could talk about the same things. But like she said, if the black men are doing that, but don't be afraid. Now, most black men date black women, okay? Let's get that straight. Don't be afraid, black women. I do agree they should. Don't small up. Don't small up your chances. Inventing a word there.
Right. White men love me. And that is just the
Once
truth.
you go black. I love that for you.
You do?
I swear on everything.
Tell me why you love that for me. Come on, friend.
I'm an opponent of happy. Don't tell me you married.
I'm not.
If you can't tell me that you're happily married. Don't tell me you're in a relationship.
Oh, but they gonna tell you they married. I've been married, but you are miserable.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Frost Bistro. It reminds me of the Rashida and Kirk situation. They've been married for forever, and they are miserable. That is horrible. And I just remember her yelling out saying, "You'll never be married." Well, not today.
She said some points that, like I was saying before, women gotta start. Every person is dating out their ethnicity these days. And so you can't be so stuck. I do believe that dating outside of your ethnicity does bring challenges, for sure. That comes from where you live, the city you live in, the family that you have, the family that they have, how receptive they are. But, if they're loving people, then it should work. It should work, right? So, but anywho, Bible does say this. 1 Corinthians 7:39. 1 Corinthians 7:39. She is free to marry anyone she wishes, but he must belong to the Lord. So women out there, if you're looking for a man, make sure he has a relationship with the Lord. Make sure he belongs to the Lord.
Would you sacrifice your family for your happiness, or would you sacrifice your happiness for your family?
If I'm not happy, no.
What about you?
I would definitely go for my happiness, because what is life about if we're not trying to be happy?
And what about you?
I've actually been there and done that, and I did choose my happiness, and I'm happy I did.
With all of your answers...
That's crazy. There's a different mindset in our society today between the different generations. My generation, parents' generation, before that, there's always a different mindset. But today it's going wild for sure, where it's all about me, the me culture, the I culture, and not caring about sacrificial love and all of these things, and doing things for other people before you do things for yourself, which is hard. That's why you have to deny yourself. It's not easy. But he's about to give them a good response for sure.
This is the reason why women initiate 70 to 80% of the divorces, because you prioritize your happiness over your family. Marriage, to be honest, isn't about happiness. Marriage is about purpose and duty. Happiness is fleeting. It's up and down, meaning that you're happy at one moment and then you're not happy another moment. Men, we could be unhappy. We act despite how we feel. There's guys that suffer in sexless relationships, sexless marriages, and still stay with that woman.
You have one life to live. Why would you sit there and be miserable for the rest of your life?
Men, we don't think the world revolves around us. Like, men really love a girl. You just love that man based off how you feel. I think the only thing you do love is your feelings. Men, we don't prioritize the way we feel. We prioritize what's real, and that's family, that's the woman, that's the children. So we'll sacrifice our happiness for a relationship without a problem.
A lot was said right there. Now, obviously these women are not talking for all women. You could tell these women are probably no older than, some of them look really young, so no older than 30, 31, 32. But a lot of them is they haven't been shown or been around good men as well. That's a lot of the times the issue too. Us as people, we are naturally hurt by other people, and then we project that off, or we project that in our relationships, or in the things that we say. So, and how they see children too is changing. But very interesting, very interesting. God obviously wants us to be happy in our marriages. God obviously wants us to have joy in those things. However, it's not necessarily the first outcome or why God says you should be married. Genesis 2:24 says, "This is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh." Moving forward.
You can't live your life
That's a powerful declaration over your marriage when you're getting married, for sure. And definitely young men need to be taught, spoken to more, because marriage is not easy. It's not a smooth road. And so that brings me to Mark chapter 10, verses 9. "Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." Boom to that. Big up to that pastor for giving them the confidence too. We also have to have people around us to give us confidence in our marriages as well.
How do you define success?
I define success as doing what God wants you to do.
This is obviously from the definitely famous channel called Pop the Balloon. I believe her name is Ariel. I think I remember this episode where this gentleman was a Christian and she was also a Christian. He gives a firm response as to what he believes a Christian man is, or around the word success. Let me restart it.
How do you define success?
I define success as doing what God wants you to do. Because my role models are in the Bible, and a lot of them didn't have money. A lot of them forsook their families just to preach the gospel and follow the calling that God had on their life. My version of success is being in God's perfect will. So that's my version of success. It's not about how much money we have, although I make money and I provide, but just being the man that God created me to be. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that, I heard you say you were working on your relationship with God, so it's to continue working on it, working out that salvation with fear and trembling all the days of your life. We're not going to be perfect, but we can get as close to God as possible before we finally see him on that last day.
That is a good answer, to be honest, because what this world considers successful is not what God considers successful. What the world sees as purpose is not what God sees as purpose. And so for him to say being successful is having a relationship with God, being counted into the kingdom. Remember, the Bible says, "Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be given unto you." Right? That's Matthew. So we need to be sure that our relationship with God is first, because once everything falls down, you know, we have millionaires who go broke, end up in the street, end up committing suicide, right? Because we're putting our success in the material things of this world. Will your wife, will your husband ride with you even though you lose everything, you know? But your faith is in God. Story of Job. I mean, come on, that's like number uno on the chart that people have to read. You understand? People need to go read Job, because that's a story of that everything can be taken away from you, because life will be lifing. Good answer from that young man.
Message.
Whose job is it to set order in the house?
It's the man's job.
The man.
So in order to set order, you have to have control.
No, you have to manage.
No, you got to.
No, control is like a robot.
Well,
No, it ain't. That's what you hear. Control is not like a robot. You have to have control. Like when you go to work, this woman said this all the time. Women are always talking about they don't want a man to control them. But you go to a job and they tell you what time to be there.
Right.
They tell you what time to take a break. They tell you can't use your phone. You always submit to money, but you won't submit to love. Submit to money, but won't submit to love. How you gonna deal with that? Because you will submit, you will give up your control.
Right.
Even when they ain't even paying you what they should be paying you.
Right.
You still showing up. Even when they give somebody else a job, you know you should have had. Your ass still showing up. So you know how.
You guys know what Bible verse I'm going to for this one. You know
how to give up your control. You hold your tongue when they talking crazy. So it ain't out of your element. It's just that you have a higher priority. You submit to money, because that's the only reason you're doing it. Keeping your composure. Because once you get a new job, you really see you. No, you could. But like, you know how to submit. You know how to give up your control. But why not for love and the person that's supposed to die for you, or be the first person to be sacrificed for you?
You can, and there's nothing wrong with that. But however,
when you go to a job, don't they tell you how you should dress?
Yeah, they have power.
Don't they tell you about your fingernails and how long they can be?
Yeah.
You can't wear certain hairstyles at jobs. You better put on that damn head net. And don't you do it?
I think that's deeper than what they're just laughing, but she needs to understand the mindset, even for the men. Because we're submitting to certain things in this world too, so the men have to understand we got to submit to God first, so that the woman can see who they're submitting to. But then the women do need to understand as well that they must submit to the husband. And it's not in a robotic, controlling way, as he said. It's more of principle. Every day you go to work, submitting to another man, submitting to Uncle Tom, as they say, submitting to, a next person. But when you go back home to the person that you're supposed to be love and the person that you're supposed to be should respect, you're not submitting to. So listen, that brings us to what? We already know. Ephesians. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is head of the church. So husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. In this way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. Each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So it's a two-way street, A lot of wives hear that word submit. Women hear that word submit. Even I'm talking about right after church, having lunch with some family, church family. And then the discussion came about women submitting to their husbands. And right after church, the woman said, I'm not submitting to no husband. I'm not submitting to no man. I've had conversations from women at my own church. I'm telling you this. Or leap a woman are going like this. Trust me. So we gotta get that Antichrist spirit out of us. It's Antichrist.
I told some ladies one time, I said, let me show y'all how to find the perfect husband. And of course, a room full of ladies. He finna tell me. And they start pulling and pulling
stuff
and
that
pulling.
ain't
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I said, I need you to make a list of everything that you want him to be. Make a list. Everything I want his credit score to be 850. I want him to be making $200,000 a year. He got to have his own house. I want him to be real.
That's another thing that's been going around. People going into the streets and doing interviews with women about the unrealistic checklists.
Groomed. He got to be well-rounded. I say, make everything on that list that you want in a person. Do it. Put it all on there, everything, and become the list. See, we're not willing to become the list of what we want. Ooh. See, you just want a bunch of stuff, but you're not willing to become a bunch of stuff.
We got to be careful what we're asking for, because when we get what we're asking for and mistreat what we got, God will not be pleased. Listen, Proverbs 18, verse 22. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. There's some translations that say, who finds a wife find a good thing. If a man finds a wife, the Bible is giving you a foreshadowing, giving the woman a foreshadowing of their future. For a man to find you, you already must be acting like a wife, dressing like a wife, thinking like a wife, being a wife in mind and spirit and in conduct. Proverbs, the book of wisdom. Yeah?
What's the narrative that we hear about black men?
They don't get married.
No, they don't like who?
Oh, they don't like black women.
Well, yeah.
The national average for black men who are married, what are they married to?
It's got to be black women.
Black women at what percentage? Over 85%. But it don't matter though, because once they make money, that's when they go get white women.
White women, yeah.
The national average for making over $200,000, black men, right? How many of those men are married to black women?
I'll give him about a cool
95%.
95? I believe it. I do believe it. And then when you hear the horror stories, we got to talk about Scottie Pippen.
Girl.
Lex has a good point though, because they'll show the Scottie Pippen, right? And they'll say, look, this is how black men behave.
Yeah.
But that's not the fact. Destroying the black family has been on the forefront of the mind of the people who created this country. How do you destroy the...
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking.
How do you destroy the black wealth in this country?
Yeah.
Destroy the black family. Make black women think that black men don't love them. Make black men think that black women don't respect them. That's all the...
And now it's to the point where now so much people in the black community are turning against themselves, right? The alphabet community has infiltrated the black community. And you know when I say alphabet community, what I'm talking about. You know, the black men being taken out the homes. We know what has happened in history. The black men were taken out the homes by the welfare system and by women getting certain privileges by not having the man in the home from the government. It's deep stuff.
It's all a fallacy. It's not true. The older I get, I'm 40 years old now, the more I realize that everything I've learned from mass media has been programmed by people who have an agenda.
Previous episode, the testimony from the man who was an actor in Hollywood, the stunt man, he said that everything since we were young from this thing called TV has been programming. It's called a program, right? When you sit down and watch something, you say, hey, we have a new program in the brain. It's a program. So we have to reprogram our brain. We have to reprogram. I work with youth and I was trying to do that last year with a lot of them. I say everything that you guys know about the world, what you've been studying in school, it's just about programming. I said you guys have to reprogram your brain to think differently about yourself, think differently about the world, everything like that. It's deep. Just gonna give a Bible verse, not necessarily match, you know, like a puzzle piece, but hey, 1 Peter 3:7, husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. That's obviously saying too, if you beat your wife, put your hands on your wife, God ain't hearing your prayers. We got to move with righteousness. And I'm not one to say, you know, I'm not saying sitting here as a perfect person. No, heck no. Trust me. So as I watch these videos too, reflecting on myself. Oh, so this last video, since that second to last one was about, you know, within the black community, marriages, you know, a lot of black women in the black community believe most black men date out of their ethnicity. This video kind of gives a confirmation because I just saw it the other day. And so this video gives a confirmation, to me at least. It's a good video to see, of within our community, marriages are happening. Shout out to that church. I think it's a church, and if it is, shout out to them. But I do believe that church has a strong influence on our community for marriages, for successful marriages. Even though I do hear that the divorce rate is high, it's very similar to the divorce rate outside the church. It's very similar to the comparisons are the same. But I do believe that the church has a positive impact. Hopefully, man. Hopefully. I would have to go look at the stats for that. So, let's finish it off with some words of wisdom. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 to 8. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness. So that could pertain to everything. Keeping the faith, finishing the race in all aspects of our lives, marriage, the endurance of our faith to make it to the end, and everything like that, man. So examine your own marriage, and I will do the same. So big up to all of you. And again, keep your faith in motion.